We're live.
We're live. OMG. I am so looking forward to this discussion. Dr. Jewa Lea, my girlfriend, my boo, my sister from another mister, my love for many years. I am so looking forward to this conversation, okay?
Okay.
So looking forward to this conversation. So first, let's give a shout out to everybody that's here. So this is streaming live on YouTube on ValerieLoveTV.com. This is streaming live. Subscribe. Jewa, do you have a YouTube channel?
I do.
Yeah. We'll put it in the description in the show notes. How about that?
Okay.
We'll hook it up.
Okay.
And gotta say hi to Love Tubers. We gotta say hi to the Reverend Valerie Love Facebook fan page. This is going to Facebook and YouTube. And Love Tubers, I got my bell. And look, we gotta already get some.
Already,
baby, because before we even started the live stream, they started throwing money in the vortex, and I love it. I love it because today, family, we're talking about being stuck and getting unstuck. And what are the ways to get unstuck? And where do we get stuck? And why do we get stuck? And what are tools and resources for us to be unstuck? There's no reason to be stuck. No reason whatsoever to be stuck. Yet we find ourselves there often. So I want to introduce Dr. Jewa Lea, who is, as I said earlier, my sister from another mister. We have known each other for a long time. 20 years?
Almost. Yeah. It's like 15 at least.
At least 15 years. And we have been through some things, haven't we? So y'all probably know my most famous Dr. Jewa Lea story was when I got evicted from my apartment, and I called you. I tell that story a lot on YouTube. Oh my God, I talked about that story because it's so funny. It's funny now. Ooh, it wasn't funny then, baby. It was not funny then when I got evicted from my apartment. I'm even laughing at it now. And I called Jewa. And Jewa looked around and said, well, what are you going to do? Jewa, do you remember we were standing there looking around at all this stuff? Like, okay, what now? I was sitting there reading the Course of Miracles. Outside with my coat on. Winter time. It was like March. I was reading the Course of Miracles. Right? It was on the top bag of my must-have essentials.
Just bring what you can carry.
Because what else you gonna do, right? So I'm sitting out there, been evicted, and so I'm sitting there, and the voice says, Course of Miracles. I pick up the lesson. Of course, the lesson for the day was perfect for the experience I was having, right? Of course. And I'm just reading the Course of Miracles, and anybody walking by would have said, this woman's life is just going to hell in a handbasket. As she's reading the Course of Miracles, I tell you, the peace of God that surpasses all human understanding came over me. And it was just like, call Jewa. And I said, okay. And I called Jewa, and she was there a few minutes later, and then things started moving. And then we got a van, and I put some things in van, put some things in storage, put some things in Jewa's house, went to stay with Jewa's house. The stuff that I couldn't carry, that I didn't need it anyway, it stayed there. Maybe other people came and picked it up, maybe to put it in the trash. I don't really care, and I don't know, and I don't care. Mm-hmm. I didn't need it. But what looked like a disaster and a cleansing and a clearing came to be probably one of the greatest moments of my life for releasing control and releasing attachments to stuff.
Yeah.
You know? So Jewa, who are you and what do you do? Isn't she beautiful, Ronaldo? I love tubers. Hi, Danielle. Hi, family. So Jewa, who are you?
All right. I am Dr. Jewa Lea. The doctor is for Doctor of Chiropractic. That's the field I'm educated in. I am an elite master in the B.E.S.T technique. B.E.S.T stands for Bioenergetic Synchronization Technique. It's a technique that looks at subconscious emotional memory patterns and breaks those patterns so that your body can heal itself. From there, I segued into life coaching because if you're breaking patterns, you really want to know how you're standing in consciousness, how you're standing in integrity. And so I started studying ancient Egyptian mysticism just for that purpose, to understand what it was to be a master, what it was to self-realize. And from there, I wrote a book called Core Perfectum.
Core Perfectum.
What you don't know about your heart may be killing your life. Heart disease is, well, up until the pandemic, it probably is, but because there are heart-related incidents as a result of COVID-19. But heart disease is the number one killer in the Western world. 49% of African American women over the age of 20 have some form of heart disease.
Over the age of 20.
20.
Black women, African American women.
Yes.
Over the age of 20. 49%.
And it's 47% for Black men. And so it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that it's much more than just having anything to do with what you're eating or how you're exercising. It really comes down to who do you say you are in the form of consciousness.
Okay, Jewa, I got to pause for a second because you just said so much.
Sorry.
You just said about 20 profound things. So, first of all, you spoke up, and first I do want to give a shout out to all our beautiful peeps that are in the chat. If you're stuck, and Ronaldo said, "Oh, gee, she's beautiful." No disrespect intended. Of course not. We know how beautiful. And Dr. Jewa has a beauty that's from the inside out. So we love that. We love that. And we appreciate you for saying that.
Thank you.
For sure. And look at Dr. Denise Bacchus coming in from Facebook. We love you. So put in the chat, family, where you've been stuck or where you're stuck now, so we can serve at the very highest level. So Dr. Jewa, you said that what I heard you say is that you are an elite master of the bioenergetic synchronization technique. I've been practicing that for as many years as you've been doing it.
Right.
And you've done it on me quite a few times. Could you tell the story of what happened to my daughter when you did it? Because she was deathly. I mean, when I say allergic to seafood and shellfish, I mean, she would smell it in the air and her body would go straight into some form of defense against a perceived attack.
Yes.
So could you talk about that?
Yeah, I remember it was some sort of gathering you were having, and Sarai was in the audience. And I think it was in between breaks, between sessions, and we were talking, and she started mentioning that she had an allergy to seafood. My ears perked up because of the technique that I do, because I know all of that has to do with consciousness.
So all allergies are simply in the mind.
Yes.
Doing something, the mind doing something.
Mind doing something.
Pollen, it's the mind doing something.
Mind doing something. Okay. And so it gets reinforced because if you eat seafood, but your underlying thought is every time I eat seafood, I get allergies, and you eat seafood and you get an allergic reaction, then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
So we're sort of deepening
the groove. Yes.
Every time we think about it and say it.
Yes. So deepening the groove. So when she said that, I said, well, do you want to get rid of them? She was like,
now, why is that an important question to ask someone? We're taking this to the
Thank you. Yeah. Yes. It's important because it really has to do with choice. And you have to be a willing participant. You can't be a passive participant in this work of BEST and of mastering consciousness. You have to be an active participant. There's no passivity in it. And so the reason why I asked her that was because she had to participate in the technique.
You know, what's really coming to me as a Christian witch or practicing Christian witch, and what that means is just born magical, and Christ as a master teacher, I desire to, has nothing to do with religion, has to be with a master teacher. I deeply connect with Christ. He always asked people, what do you think I can do for you?
Yes.
Or why are you here? or what do you want? He can just go around just blanket healing people. You would think some of the things they do in church, they just go up to smack people. People didn't even ask to be smacked. And they're just going around healing in the name of Jesus. Like, Jesus wasn't doing that.
No.
This is a master teacher who encountered a man, as the story goes, by the pool and this angel came down and troubled the waters every single day at the same time, but the man couldn't get himself into the pool, and he asked him, do you want to be healed? He didn't just heal him. Do you want to be healed? So continue.
So when she said yes, I said, okay, game on, let's go. And so I asked her a series of questions that are involved in the technique. And then I identified the underlying emotion that was tied to her physical response of allergies. And so there's always some sort of emotion. Usually it's a negative emotion that is a catalyst. But sometimes, especially with people who are doing work in the inner work, we call it, of self-discovery and self-realization, sometimes they've addressed most of the negative issues in their lives. And it's a positive emotion that can be the catalyst that has a negative connotation or a negative overlay. You want me to explain how that happens?
Please do, because that's what I had.
Yes.
And probably still have on some levels.
On some levels. Yeah. So how many of you have ever felt happy, but didn't want to get too happy because you were afraid something would happen if you got too happy?
Yes, we can't get too exuberant around here.
Yes. So that's a positive emotion that has a negative overlay to it. So what may have happened in the past was you were in the thralls of feeling happy, and then something negative happened to short circuit it. And so now your subconscious mind relates that feeling of happiness to a negative experience.
So you can't even be all the way happy.
All the way happy.
Because your mind will not allow you to be.
Right.
Let me just speak, own it for myself. There is something in my mind that will not allow me to be infinitely happy.
Right. Right. So I think Soraya, it was a positive emotion that was the issue. I can't remember what the word was. I'm sure she does because it was her first experience with that. And so we did the technique, which is very simple. I mean, so simple that it's like, how could this be possible? And so we did the technique, and afterwards, she said, okay, let me try some seafood.
How long did this take, Jewa? How long did this take?
Less than 10 minutes, less than 5 minutes.
It was less than 5 to 10 minutes to undo a seafood allergy that my daughter had carried for at least 18, 20 years.
Yes.
Since she was little, to 20.
And I find that people who come to my practice have issues, longstanding issues that are decades old. You know, a lot of times trauma happens in, childhood, and they've carried that all the way through, and it starts, you know how it does, a snowball effect, and it accumulates as they get older. But thoughts are not restricted by space and time.
Say that again.
Thoughts are not restricted by space and time.
So your thoughts are beyond space and time.
Right.
Our thoughts, my thoughts, all of our thoughts are beyond space and time. But there's a physical component of us that lives in space and time.
Exactly. And so what B.E.S.T does, it looks at 3D consciousness, which has to do with the senses.
So 3D consciousness is the 5 senses.
Yes, and then enters and corrects the problem from a 5D point of view.
So what you're saying here is that the 5th dimensional self, capital S self, will enter. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes. Will be unfolded, because because there's interference. The negative emotion is an interference of that coming in.
So something in my five senses connected to the egoic mind, the conscious mind, that little surface level mind, the little self who I think I am, the personality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something in that is blocking the fifth dimensional self expression.
Yes. And
So
so
I
what?
don't really have to try to ascend myself because I'm already a fifth dimensional being. I just have to move the interference out the way.
Exactly. So that's what B.E.S.T does. It removes the interference so that you can fully express who you truly are.
Okay. Now this is so simple, it's profound, but we don't do it, right? We don't do it.
Right.
Let's take a example. So honoring everyone in the chat. Hey, Christine. Hey, Diana. Everyone in the chat. Hey, Austin. Let's go to Ronaldo. This is what Ronaldo says. Are you able to see his comment?
I don't see anything.
Comments? Okay. Let me give you Ronaldo's comment. So I'm stuck financially. I want my music career. Thank you, Ronaldo, for giving us this. And everyone else, put in the chat. You heard Dr. Jewa Lea say, you must be an active participant. You can't just watch us. I say,
oh, I can see it now. I clicked on the right thing here, so I can see.
Oh, good.
Okay.
You see Ronaldo. So I'm stuck financially. I want my music career to be my main source of income and create financial freedom. I'm still waiting on that one opportunity that will take me away from my day job. So go, Dr. Jewa. What Dr. G was intuiting into that on an energetic level as well as reading the words, because there's a whole energy pattern behind the words.
Mm-hmm. How badly do you want your music to be your sole source of income? I guess that's my first question. Because there has to be a wholehearted willingness for that to happen. And when that happens, then I don't think there's very much that can get in the way of that. I mean, there has to be a willingness, because there's some sort of fear that's interfering with the idea of music being your income. And this is really interesting because, Valerie, you know that my ex-husband is a musician.
Yeah.
And this question is his question.
Look at that. So would we say that maybe on this side over here is Ronaldo, full-blown musician, music, happy, abundant, wealthy, fulfilled in the deepest levels of being. And this is Ronaldo here now, and there's some interference in the way, and B.E.S.T removes the interference.
Right. And so that hand that you were shaking, one of the illustrations that I give folks is this. Pretend that you are a projector, like, you know, those old-fashioned movie projectors. You're a projector, and the light of God is streaming through you and streaming out through your heart, okay? Streaming through you, streaming down and through your heart, okay? So your experience is an out picture of that projection through your heart. Now, if you were a clear and perfect channel, if you were perfect, whole, and complete, you would just see nothing but loveliness and the fullness thereof, because that's what would be projected through you. However, your lens has smudges on it. And those smudges are those negative experiences or negative beliefs or negative patterns that you've developed over eons, your soul's eons. So it's not this lifetime that you may have something that came up. It may be something that you are addressing from a past life that is causing you not to fulfill your fullest potential. And so what B.E.S.T does is help remove that smudge off that lens. And so you may have, multiple smudges. You know, if you pick up a piece of glass with bare hands and your fingerprints get all over it.
Yes.
Yeah. So you have multiple smudges over your lifetime based on negative experiences, past life experiences that you have that you're, like I would say, holding guilt for having done.
Yeah.
And now in this lifetime, you may be experiencing what it may be to be on the other side of that. So let's just say metaphorically that you in a past life, sabotaged people who wanted to be musicians.
Woo! So maybe I was a politician in a past life who, in a communist regime or something like that, passed laws that no musicians, that music is outlawed, and people can't be musicians.
Right.
Let's just say, I'm just making up a scenario.
Yeah, it's just made up. I mean, you can make up any kind of scenario, and this is what I suggest people to do: is make up the worst possible scenario that you can make. Make it so heinous, so that there's
maybe
no.
I was killing musicians.
Right. Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I have a friend of mine who is a writer. I think you may remember Tanya. Anyway, she just finished writing her novel. She's put it out on Amazon just this past week, and it's like been going on for years. She's been working on this work. It's called Prince of the Far Isles, if you want to look it up.
Ooh, very nice. We'll look it up.
And the scenario that she came up with in regards to her block of putting out her work, because she had a lot of fear around putting out her work. She said that she was a rich guy who would take in wards in children and nurture their talent, nurture their art, nurture their artwork, nurture their their musicianship, nurture all that stuff. And then he would take their stuff and put it in a closet and lock it away so no one else could see it.
Ooh, that's a despot. That is being a despot.
Yeah. And so the guilt of hiding somebody's work was the overall picture that she created, and could feel what it was like to be on the receiving end of that to a really deep level. And then we were able to work. We were able to work through it and get that smudge off her lens. So that was one less smudge that she had to work with. And now she's, putting out excellent work. Excellent work.
Writing.
Yes, writing.
As a matter of fact, Jewa, this is so profound that you said this, because I'm an author, I'm a writer, I write every day, and I'm writing this epic. I have a few writing projects going on, and they're amazing. I'm in all of them. And I have 2 more books coming out in October. Those will make books 19 and 20. Now.
And I remember when you wrote your first one.
It took me 10 years to write the first one.
That's so amazing.
And it doesn't take 10 years to write a book. It takes 10 days nowadays with technology.
Right.
You can write a book in maybe 10 minutes. You could publish a book on Amazon and Kindle right now. It took me 10 years to get that smudge off. If I had known you in that time, I probably would have got it off a lot faster than 10 years. But anyway, 10 years. Guess what I heard, Jewa, and this thing resonated so deeply with me that I'm like, back in, I think it's maybe around the time of Shakespeare, let's call it. Mm-hmm. There used to be these very wealthy patrons.
Yes.
And I think this has existed all throughout history, right? Throughout humanity. These very wealthy patrons that would fund artists and things like that. Yet the artists had to do chores for the patron, the wealthy patron. So this is some starving artists. Like, I think a lot of artists, musicians, creative people have the starving artist mentality to some extent. I had it as well, and I continue to clear that smudge. And what this sort of did to some of the artists, it made them feel beholden to their patron. Mm-hmm. And it caused them to resent on some levels being an artist, because this person is giving me, let's say in today's world, $5,000 a month, let's say, so I can write. But at their beck and call, I have to jump up and I have to go over here and do this for them, or I have to go before them and I have to go to the place and set up their whatever they need. And they're wealthy, so, or I have to go over here. I have to do basically whatever they say.
Right.
To have my art. And so as I was hearing this story of how some artists came to hate and despise wealth because of it, I said, well, that was me in a past life. I was one of the, it's clear why that story came to me. I was one of these wealthy people that, yeah, I had money. So I was, because I always have this wealth sense about myself, like just very rich. So I was giving all this money to these, but I didn't think anything of their art. And I thought it was frivolous and dumb and just whatever, not important.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing I experience about my own work and my own writing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Smudges to be cleared. So
Smudges
now
to be
let's give
cleared.
some shout out to folks in the chat. First of all, welcome India. Wow, India. Thank you so much for that message. I saw it in the chat a little bit ago. India, hey from India. I love it, love it, love it. Now, Ken, I was born in Haiti, raised in preacher's home, but I'm a musician. Excuse me, it looks like music and artistry is our big conversation for today. I
Mm-hmm.
can write songs, but mental blocks projected from fear from my parents prevent me from being involved fully. Any help? Look at that. Look at Chris Golden. Hey, Chris. Wow, how you loving? He's got the incredible podcast as well. I've been a guest on his show. He's been a guest on our show. So what would you say to that? And these are all of us stuck artists. This is writers. This is musicians. This is all of us stuck because we got smudge on our lens. So what would you say to that one? Ken from Haiti.
Well, Ken, that's a
That is a
loaded,
loaded one, isn't it?
because there's so many layers that I see there already,
What are the layers you see? Can you break it down for us and tell us what you see?
Well, the preacher's home, you know, it's just
I
so
saw you.
loaded. And Haiti.
Start right there. I was
Yes,
born in Haiti. Boom. Right? There's
right.
going to be a certain setup in consciousness, not because there's anything wrong with Haiti, but
Exactly.
because wherever you're from, that starts some setup in consciousness. I'm from Harlem. So that sets up some kind of smudges on the lens because God ain't from Harlem, nor is
Right.
God from Haiti.
Right. Exactly. And so, and you may know this already, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Yeah.
You accumulate beliefs in each lifetime, based on your parents, based on your culture, based on your religion, based on your teachers. All of this really causes you to form a framework as to how you experience your life. It just comes down to you're a soul playing a role.
Ooh,
You know,
rather than a free soul.
yes, you're a soul playing a role, and
Ooh,
that's all there is to it. I mean, and the role that you're playing, but the thing is that the role that you're playing is not really real.
it's not who you really
Is
are.
not who you really are. And
So
so,
therefore, you're going to feel constricted and stuck because on the soul level, we know this is not who I really am.
yes, there's a background conversation that's taking place. Like, this doesn't feel right. This there's something more than this, and that something more than this is your divinity. You know, your soul's call to remember who you truly are, the image and likeness thereof. And so, uh, the fear is it can feel really real, and it's so interesting because Valerie, because I this morning, I read A Course in Miracles every day.
Every day.
And this morning, and for those of you who have A Course in Miracles, I'm going to give you chapter, section to read.
Look, let's bring it up on screen share. Would that be okay to bring up A Course in Miracles today on screen share? Are you going to the one from today?
I'm going through the chapter 30, section 8.
Oh, chapter 30, section 8. Okay, so that will not be on screen share because that's not online. Okay,
Right.
continue.
Yeah. So, but you can also, if you want to go to lesson 259, that would work too.
Lesson 259, which is tomorrow's lesson, because today is 258. So let's go to lesson 259. And for everyone who has not gone to A Course in Miracles, I'm going to pull it up on screen share right now and tell you what to don't walk, run. Okay? Do not walk. Look at do you understand words that are coming out of my mouth? To acim.org. Now, let's see if I can pull it up. I've never done this before.
Okay, here's going. I'm in with you're in.
Hey, we're on a grand adventure, aren't we? Okay, so let's see if I can pull up screen share. Okay, I have no idea how to do that. And okay, so I thought it was a very simple thing to do, but it's not. So let's continue and I'll figure it out.
Okay, so what I will do is I will read, if you don't mind me reading.
Come on, go for it. Look, Ronaldo said, OMG, Dr. Lee sounds like my pastor. Years ago, we were all playing roles and bring things from other lifetimes. This is rich. This is it. And when you clear it, you clear it, you clear it. I also saw a cartoonist in the chat. Karasu, I pray I'm saying that right, the dreamer, is a cartoonist. So it looks like we have a lot of actively creative people here. And the dream of every creator is to make have infinite abundance from your creative work.
Yes.
That's like that's like the piece de resistance. If you can create art, poetry, words, music, song to reach the pinnacle of wealth. J.K. Rowling became a billionaire for making a story about a little wizard boy.
Right.
The first building. That is the dream of authors, right? Well, how come we don't get there? Writing is not mine, even though it's my thing. That's not my number one source of income. So what if I could do that? Well, I know I can. There's scripting that has prevented me from doing it, that the arts are not the way to a lot of money. The arts require money. Like I give money to the arts.
Right.
The arts is not a way to generate money. That's my inner scripting. And business things generate money. Businesses, right?
Right.
So this is still, even though I see the incomes going up from the books, even to a surprising level, and I know that's wouldn't be appropriate to say if you're expecting.
Exactly. And that is the insidious nature of subconscious beliefs. Because you said it was surprising. Why is it surprising? Well, that's a belief. Even though it's a so-called pleasant belief, it's surprising. Well, why is it surprising? You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. And you know what also was somewhat what the surprising part was about it? That the book that took off, kid you not, Jewa. Here's another layer of the creative mind. Oh, Alan, Black people flossing and being broke. Isn't that the truth? Here's another layer of it for me. That I want to predict what a certain creative work will do when I have no control over it.
Right.
So like, for instance, I've written books and I've said, oh, yes, #1 bestseller. This is it, baby. This is like, right, we're all into it, right? Well, I'm right. Oh my God. Oh, this is good. This is good. Because, we're totally channeling the divine. It's like, yes. Oh, yeah. Oh, everybody. And look, everybody's going to get this. This is me in other people's lanes, right? This is like, oh, yeah. This is what the human is saying, right?
Right.
While spirit is just channeling this beautiful work of art. Who cares if anybody picks it up or not? I got the glorious experience of spirit channeling something so delicious through me, right? That I got to participate in that co-creation. Like, woo, that buzzed me up for the rest of my life, right?
Right.
But now the human comes in with a whole nother plan.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be a #1 New York Times bestseller. Oh, everybody's going to get this. And then when I look at the results, it's like, oh, okay. Well, they didn't do, and then I have judged the creation based on what it did in the 3D, not based on what it was doing in the 5D.
Right. Yeah, you assign meaning to it. And nothing has meaning except the meaning I give it. So it's just yeah. It's just like,
so our minds is just making the whole thing up.
Making the whole thing up, and you got your fingers in it, and you're like, stop. the short. That's the short answer. Because when I find myself, in the flow and then observing myself in my flow, as soon as you start observing yourself in the flow, you've corrupted it.
Like you're in it, but then as soon as you say, "Ooh, I'm in the flow," you just messed it up.
Exactly.
That's the little tiny human mind giving its commentary.
Exactly. Because the first thing is what can I do with this? It's always about the egoic mind is always about safety and security. And so the next conversation is how can I either monetize it or get security from it, or some sort. It's either safety or security that comes into mind. How can I be admired for it?
I was going to say that mine was acceptance. So how are people going to like me because of this?
Yes.
How am I going to be popular because of it? How am I going to get more fame because of it?
Right. Yeah. And so that's so yeah.
When you start to observe the mind doing all these things and know that it's not yourself, and you observe it, you're like, wow, look at that.
Mm-hmm.
There is something in my mind that wants to pimp God.
Yes, God. Exactly. And yeah, exactly. So lesson 259 is the lesson for today. And the lesson is, let me remember there is no sin. So let me clarify language here. Sin in Latin means without.
Ooh.
Okay.
Basically lack then.
Yeah. So without. And so without what? And so without light, either the light, love, God on one side, the left side, or nothingness, ego, striving on this side. So when you say that you're without the light of God. Okay. So without the fullness thereof, without the kingdom of heaven, that's what sin truly is.
So we could call that maybe darkness, or what people call hell. They have a lot of terms for it. Mm-hmm. It's the absence of light.
It's the absence of light. So there's not real sin. And then also, and I think it says it here, but I'll say it here. Sin is an illusion. Sin is something that we've made up because we're never really away from the light. Again, here we go. Again, talking about this. We're never away from the light because we are the light. We are emanations of the divine. The only thing that makes us think that we're not is this interference, those smudges on our lens that makes us think that we're not that. We're not the fullness thereof, the fullness of the light thereof going through. And so when I'm speaking of sin, just remember that I'm not talking about, oh, you're an evil sinner, not that traditional way of thinking. It's
not the Christian paradigm, sinner and all that stuff.
Right. Okay. So let me remember there is no sin. Sin is the only thought that makes the goal of God seem unattainable. What else could blind us to the obvious and make the strange and distorted seem more clear? What else but sin engenders our attacks? What else but sin could be the source of guilt, demanding punishment and suffering? And what but sin could be the source of fear, obscuring God's creation, giving love the attributes of fear and of attack? And then the prayer says, Father, I would not be insane today. I would not be Father, I would not be insane today.
I was crazy the whole rest of 2020. But today, I can make a new choice. I'm not going to be insane today. My whole 3D consciousness. Do you hear me?
I would not be afraid of love, nor seek for refuge in its opposite. For love can have no opposite. You are the source of everything there is, and everything that remains with you and you with it. Let me remember
Let me remember.
There is no sin.
There is no sin. Let me remember. Put it in the chat. You know how we do on YouTube? Put it in the chat. And if you're on YouTube and you haven't smashed up the likes, it's time to smash that like. These originals, smash the share, smash the share, because this teaches the algorithm that we're sharing this among all of us across the globe so that we all ascend together. Okay, we're all doing the work together. So let me remember that there is no sin. So that's cleaning the smudge off the lens, cleaning the smudge. Talk to us about your program. So how are you going to be helping people? Everybody here, you can actually get access to Dr. Jewa. So how are you going to be doing this?
I'm offering a couple of things. I wrote a book 2 years ago, and Valerie was a part of this birthing process. I attended one of her write a book in 48 hours. What was that?
I'm trying to whip people into shape. Write your book in 5 days. Write your book in a weekend. Write your book in 5 days. Oh my goodness, we've been all around the world. Bali retreat, your book in 5 days. DC, your book in a weekend. So you were at DC, you were booking a weekend. So
right.
Yeah.
So I had given a talk at a conference, Circles of Light Global Ministries, their annual conference in Las Vegas in 2012. Gave a talk on the human heart. And the talk was about the heart from a perspective that we don't normally talk about the heart. It was from the familiar things, because I talked about the embryology, anatomy, physiology, cardiophysiology. And then I started talking about the things that don't necessarily get talked about that much. I talked about the energetic properties of the heart, the sacred geometry around the heart.
When you say sacred geometry, what are we talking? Are we talking the Merkaba? Are we talking the Metatron cube, flower of light, flower of life, tree of life? What are we doing? All of it? What are we talking about?
Well, primarily, we're talking about the Vesica Pisces, or the sign of the fish. Right there. That's two intersecting circles, and that thing in the middle, showing the intersection, is called the Vesica Pisces, or the sign of the fish, and that's where it comes from. These two intersecting circles, and there's a geometry. You know, geometry is something that is used to measure things, and sacred geometry is a geometry that measures the nominal coming into the phenomenal. Okay, so the unseen coming into the seen. And so this Vesica Pisces, right there, is the sign of the fish, is related to the heart. And I speak about this in the book, the relevance of this in relation to the heart. You talk about the sign of the fish being the Christ. The Christ is a term. Yeah, the Christ is a term that predates Christianity by hundreds of years. It was used as.
Talk about it. I'm doing a Forbidden Knowledge series now for Christians called Christians You've Been Lied To. And Christians, most Christians, when I was a Christian, I certainly didn't have any clue about that.
Right. Same here. And so, you know, the more I studied, the more I was like, oh, wow, this is really interesting. Let me put this all together. So everything about the heart, you know, even the ancient Egyptian mysticism around the heart is in this book. And it's all together to show how this entity in our chest is not a pump. That's the first thing. That's the first falsehood.
It's not a pump.
It's not a pump.
I said, why does the entire Western world believe that the heart is a pump?
Right. And it goes back to these guys back in I forget what century, I want to say 1400s, maybe it was the 1500s, who were doing dissections on human cadavers and decided that because of the motion that it made, it was a pump. But I go into how it's not a pump, you know, even looking at the anatomy and physiology of it. and how it's not a pump. And then I go into the mechanics of it to show what's actually happening. But the heart itself is the seat of the Christ based on its sacred geometry principles. When we look at the heart in a picture, we notice that it sits like this. It looks like it's sitting at 45 degrees, but that's in 2 dimensions, length and height. But the heart is not a 2-dimensional structure. It's a 3-dimensional structure. And so it sits at the square root of 3, which is the same as the Visic species. Yes, which is the same as the Visic species. Its geometric equivalent is the square root of 3. And so the heart is a transducer that transduces the energy unseen into the seen. This is from the spirit into matter.
So what we're talking about here also are our powers of manifestation.
Yes.
If our hearts are diseased, as we heard earlier in the broadcast in this show, right? If our hearts are not clear, if there are smudges, then this is affecting manifestations. And of course, we'll be stuck in the level of manifestation and won't be able to go beyond it.
Right.
Get this heart center
clear. Yes. Yes. And so I'm having a book reading, a book discussion for 7 weeks. It's not 7 weeks long. It's 7 Thursdays, starting.
But it's
starting
not 7 consecutive Thursdays.
7 consecutive Thursdays, starting this Thursday.
Starting this Thursday. What's the date? Because we're going to link this up to your website in the description. Okay.
So it is Thursday the 17th at 8 p.m. and it's going to be on Zoom.
Zoom. That means anyone from anywhere in the world can connect.
Yes.
This is profound. You know why? I just want to put this, insert this here. Hansa Butwala. I love you. I love you. I love you. You are good, but not good enough because you're a man and not a woman. I identify this as a subconscious thought. This brings unavailable men, and I'm denied jobs as a primary school principal. So kudos to you. And I acknowledge and honor you for seeing the sub-pattern scripting, for seeing the smudge on the lens. Congratulations on that. And because this is anywhere in the world, if you have an internet connection, you can join.
Yes. So you need the book. The book is on Amazon. You can buy it on Amazon. There's an ebook, and then there's the paperback. I don't know if you have enough time to get the paperback because of shipping delays that are happening because of.
But they can get the ebook just like that.
Ebook instantly. And so what we're doing is we're discussing the book for 7 weeks, and we're going to go chapter by chapter, and you read the book and have group discussion about the book. I'll lend my insights and answer questions about what's in the book. And so I think it's a great opportunity to do a deep dive in the material.
And how often can you do a deep dive with the author?
That's right.
Like I've had your book and I've been like, I sure would have liked to ask her what was going on in your mind when you had that liver experience. Because when I was reading about that, I was reading parts that I never even knew about you, and I knew you all these years, right? So it's like, what would happen if you had the book and you had the author?
Exactly. And so I'm looking forward to it. This is my first time doing it. I have people who are really excited about it, people who've already read the book and say, "Ooh, I want to do this because I have questions, and this would be a great time to, have them answer it in a really supportive and nurturing and what's the word I'm looking for? Exploratory environment."
Of light, a finding space of light.
Yeah.
Yes, because the teacher, the person who's holding that space must be standing there to hold it, right?
Right.
For others. I'm going to tell you something. This is why a lot of people can't come on my show. a good book. Because I know, Jewa, you may know, people who say they're doing the work, and when a 2020 rolls around, everybody's dress blew up and we see who's really doing the work. Because, no onesies.
Right.
You know, the something will come, or the blinding light of the first rays of the age of Aquarius hitting the planets, like blinding, showing everything.
Right.
Showing up our faulty systems, faulty healthcare, faulty notions about viruses, faulty everything. Educational systems, it's just pimp slapping us.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's what the age of Aquarius is doing. Excuse me.
You know, there's no shadows, and let me explain what that is.
Yes, talk about it. Look at my chat.
If you think about a clock, you know, with 12 o'clock and then all the way around the dial until you reach 12 o'clock again. At 12 o'clock is Aquarius. And so you go all the way around until 6 o'clock at high noon. So there are no shadows at high noon. No shadows at high noon.
Everything is exposed to the bright light, blinding rays of the light.
Yeah, and so this is such an auspicious time. And, you know, such an auspicious time, such a great time for introspection and for clearing and cleaning, because the energies of the universe are cooperating so well. I mean, I had a astrological reading the other day, and the woman who I had the reading with was saying, you know, and I forget what planets, you know, because don't make me say that, but I just know something about Pluto or Neptune. I don't know. But anyway, whatever those planets were, they're responsible for foundational stuff, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And all of this is starting to get dismantled. She said this dismantling is going to be taking place until May of next year.
Oh my. Okay. Clearing the decks.
And clearing the decks. All the stuff that all these old systems and the way of doing things and how things are, you know, that whole notion is just being disrupted. And so now it's an opportunity for new things to come into place. And
that's
so
the reason why spirit disrupts things, because we see it as destruction. Oh my goodness. And we were attached to how things were. And to the extent that we were attached to how things were is the extent of pain that we'll feel. I myself had the best time in this whole experience ever. Been having the best time ever. I've been eating better. I've been writing way more. I've been making more money. I've been spending less money. Like, it's been a radical up for me this whole year. Radical up. Folks are already buying the book. We've been talking about the book. Jewa, could you show the book again? Ujo Watch, I wanted to see the book.
Core Perfectum is the name of the book.
Core Perfectum.
And
very beautiful.
Yeah,
they're already buying the book. I love you, family. I love you for supporting my sister. This is my sister. And you know, if I bring you someone, they are the real deal. I'm telling you that. You can take that to the bank.
Yeah.
Because what I have seen Jewa do, I think when nobody's looking, she's walking on water just for entertainment.
That's funny.
I don't know.
Can I tell a funny story? Okay, so at the beginning of the pandemic, go back several years. Remember, it feels like it's only been months, but it feels like several years for some people.
Yeah.
Back in March, when everybody was hoarding, going to stores and just buying up everything. Remember that? Buying up toilet paper, buying up paper towels, buying up water, canned goods.
It was hilarious because they had all the toilet paper memes on the TV on Facebook saying that toilet paper cures the virus. I don't mean to make fun of the virus, but you know,
right.
Continue.
So, you know, I'm minding my own business. I'm doing my own thing, and I'm on my way home. I had just gone to Trader Joe's, and I'm on my way home, and I hear, stop and get some toilet paper. Get some paper towels. Stop and get some paper towels. I'm like, paper towels? Okay, yeah, I know I'm on my last one. I said, but there's no paper towels. What are you talking about? Stop and get some paper towels. So I passed by the supermarket chain that's up here. It's called Myers. And I stop at Myers, and the parking lot is packed. And I'm like, really? You want me to go in here? I'm speaking to my higher self. You wanted me to go in here and get some paper towel? Okay, I'm going to follow instructions because I have learned.
Higher self life.
I have learned that it's better to follow instructions as opposed to ignoring instructions when it comes from your higher self. I mean, it's intelligent. Okay. So that small voice that's in your ear, especially your left ear, when you hear it in your left ear, you know for sure that's your higher self speaking to you. And I said, okay. And so I'm walking past the checkout, and there people have stuff packed. You know, their buggies are packed with stuff, and I see nobody with paper towels in their buggies. And I'm like, so I said, okay, I have a couple other things I'm going to pick up. So let me go and walk through the supermarket and get those things. I'm walking, I'm getting those things. And on the way back, on my way to walking to get the things that I need to get, I passed by the aisle that has the paper towels and the toilet paper, and it's empty. And I'm like, okay, whatever. It's just like out of my peripheral vision, I just saw emptiness. And so I was like, okay. And so I get my stuff and I turn back around and I'm going down to the checkout. And I said, okay, let me go down the aisle and get these paper towels. And I turn, and the aisles on the left and the right of me are empty. But dead ahead of me is one pack of paper towels on the bottom row, glowing. It's like,
I'm for Dr. Jewa Lea. No one else can see me. It was cloaked.
And part of me wanted to run because I'm like, I hope nobody gets these paper towels.
It couldn't be possible for someone.
But I just like, okay, it's mine. And I took my time and I walked down there. I looked, picked up those paper towels.
Calmly and at peace.
At peace. Walked, and I swear to you, nobody. And I looked, you know, as I'm going through the store, as I'm in checkout and looking at people's buggies, nobody had paper towels. It was the only pack of paper towels. And I say, okay, thank you, Spirit.
And how does that happen? And that happens in your life all the time when you're connected to Source and letting Source, letting that light just shine straight through, no interference of the little tiny mind. But that doesn't make sense. Well, why would I go there? Well, they're gonna be right now.
Right.
I'm not gonna go there. I don't feel like it. None of that. Simply flow. It's a flow. How do you get there, Jewa? How do you do that? Because different people do it different ways. How do you stay in that flow of divine guidance?
Well, the first thing is that you have to ask for a relationship. You know, you have to be a willing partner. You know, like, okay, you know, I'm ready and willing to have a relationship with you, my higher self. And I'm willing to listen. And I've heard some people say some things like, you know, if you show it to me 3 times, I know it's from you. That kind of thing.
They want confirmation on the confirmation. They're looking for confirmation. Is that real? Because I don't know if it was real, because I don't trust myself.
Right. And so it's just being still enough, having enough mind to hear that soft voice in your left ear. You know, just, you know, being still enough and open and willing enough to listen. That's the other thing. Because when you're busy and your mind is racing and you have a whole lot of stuff to do, a lot of times you don't even hear what's going on over here on the left side. Because this right side is so raucous and so busy and so striving and so concerned about safety and security. And that's what it all comes down to, safety and security.
How am I going to make myself safe and secure? How am I going to pad my little nest and snuggle myself into my little comfort zone and be snug as a bug in a rug? And as soon as I do that, here comes the universe. Pat. As soon as I get it just like I wanted. You're not ready for the spiritual path.
Oh my gosh, that's
not
funny.
Ready for the spiritual path, right?
Yeah. So that'd be my advice. You know, just
So if we were to put it
cleaning.
into steps, it's first we've got to ask. We must initiate. We're the initiators. We must initiate. Higher self. I took higher self as my lover.
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost, lover.
Right.
Right.
It's primary relationship. It's the beginning
That's
and
number
end.
one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Then I've got to now not just say that. Now I've got to actually walk it out of my life by creating the space of listening. I'm tuned in. I'm intentional about listening. I'm not always in the right yang 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 yang. You know, I'm yin. I'm receptive. I'm open. What are you saying now, higher self? I had to do this Jiwa with myself with underwear.
Right.
Because I'm so type A. I'm so type A. American Express, corporate. You were a corporate gal too.
I worked for Xerox for a couple of years before I came to my senses.
You know, when you come from that corporate environment, and because we had the light of God, even then, people would just flock to us, and we would have some measure of success doing it that way. Yet it would be burnt out, and it would not sustain.
Right.
And now everything that I do, I have immense joy in it. It sustains, and all I'm doing is Forrest Gumping it. That's all I'm doing. I'm Forrest Gumping it. My whole life, I'm just Forrest Gumping it. I got no plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so what in the Course in Miracles, because I have a program, you asked for other thing. I have a program called Whole Heart Living. And one of the things that I do in this program is I facilitate a group in A Course in Miracles. Because I think that is, I mean, I was taught A Course in Miracles by, and still a student of A Course in Miracles by a master teacher. And
as was I. And give honor to our master teachers, Reverend Dr. Ayala Van Sant, for me and for you.
Dr. Caroline Isis Fuqua. And so in A Course in Miracles, you know, what I love about this book is that it is a handbook on living. It is, I mean, basically, it just is a handbook on mind training and practical spiritual living. And so practical spiritual living. It doesn't ask much. It's just basically saying, look, this is what you need to ask yourself. Beginning of the day, what would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say? And to whom?
To whom? That's it.
That's it. And so basically what you're saying is, I am available to you. I am your hands. I am your feet. I am your mouth. I am able to sense these things for you. I'm a vehicle for you to be the expression of you on this plane. And so your agenda of I want this, I want that, you know, praying for this, praying for that, that has nothing to do with anything.
Wait a minute, we about to bust up some stuff right now. We about to bust up all the vision boards that you have all those pictures on of how your life's supposed to be. We about to bust up all your little plans, your 5-year plan that the gurus and Facebook tell you have to have a 5-year. We about to bust up your business plan for the year that you're supposed to. I couldn't plan my life if I wanted to. I couldn't plan it if I wanted to.
No.
So hard I couldn't plan it.
I recently posted something on Instagram, and it was a placard that said, it was a black placard with those little white letters that you can change, you know, the ones that you see in the restaurant when they say, you know, please wait here, you know, we're about to seat you, and they could change the letters out. It says something on the order of, how many people in 2015 are where they thought they would be right now on their 5-year plan.
5 years. You know? I'm gonna be king of the world. Really? How about you gonna be sitting in your house in a perpetual meditation? How about that?
Yeah, so this whole thing about planning and, you know, a healed man, you know, again, A Course in Miracles. I'm going to keep on referring to this because it's basically my life. This is how I live my life, and not that it's perfect or anything else, but this is basically what I'm doing. I'm living A Course in Miracles. And in the Course in Miracles says there a healed mind doesn't plan.
A healed mind does not plan. What does that mean, Jewa? Because people are so, I used to be mad until I plan.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It means that when you are planning, you are basically looking for safety and security.
Here goes those two again. These are recurring. That's why we get stuck. Because we keep trying to look for something that we cannot create.
Yeah.
You cannot create your own safety and security.
No. And so a healed mind doesn't need safety and security. Again, we have this pole.
Say that again.
Healed mind doesn't need safety. It is already safe.
What? Like, what are we trying to make ourselves safe
for? It's already safe. It's already.
Now, if we're in the egoic mind, according to A Course in Miracles, and we're in defense and attack, we would have to make ourselves safe because there's some attack coming.
Right. We would have to put locks on our doors and wear seat belts and all these things that we do to keep safe. Vaccinations.
And hazmat suits. And
yes.
Protective clothing that it talks about in ACIM lesson 50. Protective clothing and magical pills that we endow with magical powers.
Right. And prescription medicine or medicine period, anything that quote unquote keeps you supposedly safe.
Safe and little. And
yes.
Exactly what the doctor told you and all that. Like, that's big souls don't do that.
No.
Master teacher, I've never seen a master teacher do that. Most master teachers, I don't even know. I've been in India and in Bali. I don't think these master teachers, some of them have ever even seen a doctor. If you ask them what a doctor was, they probably wouldn't know what you were talking about.
Right.
Because when you're aligned, spirit tells you vitamin D, okay, and you get in the sun or you do whatever, eat some kale. It tells you more water. There has never been an issue in my body that spirit did not tell me what it was and what to do about it. Never. Never. What's the grand price of this incredible 7 weeks with the
Much to her chagrin, I'm going to say this, y'all. Val almost fell. I know she fell out of her chair when I told her what the grand price was for spending 7 weeks with me reading this master work. And I say that unbiasedly because it's basically me just sharing information. I didn't create anything in this book other than putting everything together in one place and making it easy to read and understand and see how all the pieces click together.
Okay.
Yeah. And so 7 weeks free. Val was like, what? You can't do that.
Jewa, what does Spirit say about that? Free? Wait a minute. No, they can't get all this deliciousness for free. Oh my goodness, but continue. And you shared. What did you share?
Yeah, and I said, I pendulumed it. I used my pendulum. And that's what I got. I got that it's supposed to be that. And if anybody, I'm going to say this, if anybody wants to give a love offering, I'm open to that. But me charging something.
Is the love, look, Nicole is like, say what? Look, because you know what, the love tubers, they used to Reverend Val. Reverend Val is 5,000 plus. Okay?
Yes.
Val is 5 a comma in it.
Right.
In the story, you better talk to me on YouTube.
Oh man, yeah.
Right now we have the Sedona retreat, and the Sedona retreat is 22 to 5 days with myself in the mystery school studying the ancient mysteries in December 1st to the 5th in Sedona, Arizona. That's $2,222. So there's nothing that you can come to with me that is less, doesn't have a comma in it most of the time. And unless you're in the Wealth of Wellness Vortex with us, if you're in the Wealth of Wellness Vortex, you know that we have the Wealth of Wellness Vortex. It's about $100 a month. So that's very inexpensive. And the information on how you join the Wealth of Wellness Vortex by text is right below this vid in the show notes. But Dr. G, where they're going crazy in the chat right now. I'm in. Where's the link to join?
Oh my gosh.
Because what may come of it is some may desire a deeper connection with you, and may desire, well, I'm going to do some coaching work with her, some B.E.S.T work with her. What are your more longer term? So 7 weeks, they're going to have you
Right.
each week.
Yes.
What are your more longer term? They're in. Look at that. Davina, I'm in. Joanne, I'm in. Nicole, say what? You know.
Yes.
What
So.
are your longer term?
So I do have.
Want to go deep with you.
Okay, so as far as coaching is that we're speaking of, it's okay. As far as coaching is concerned, I have my Whole Heart Living program. It's a year-long program. It starts on January 1st. And we study A Course in Miracles. We have retreats. We have a whole plethora of stuff. And you would have to contact me for how much that would be.
And drjewalee.com?
Yeah, drjewalee.com. If you want to Instagram me, I'm at Dr. Jewa, DRJEWA. I'm on Instagram at Dr. Jewa. And then also, if you wanted to sign up for the 7-day course, it's Dr. Jewa, which is JEWA.com/Zoom.
Oh, /Zoom. That's where they can actually
register.
And the link will be in the description below on YouTube and in the show notes on Facebook. So it's drjewa.com/Zoom.
That's for the 7-week course in Core Perfectum. Reading that.
I mean, I may join it just because the heart disease is huge.
It's huge.
50% of people over 20, 49, 47% of people. We might as well call that half of the people.
A coin flip. Yeah, I had a retreat recently where we had 6 participants, and 3 of them had a history of heart disease.
3 out of 6.
Right there. The statistic held up right there in that small little group.
In that tiny group. And what you're saying is that by removing, now, of course, we're not making any medical claims, see your healthcare professional, whatever you're doing for your life. What we're saying is that if you choose to approach your stuckness in whatever area it is from the 5D perspective, you're going to have greater than any 3D solution.
Right.
That they come up with.
Right.
And that's how we live our lives. I'm going to have my 24th anniversary of my 36th birthday next year. So do the math. I always say that. I'm doing 36 again. And I keep telling people, if people show up talking about something other than 36, if there's something other than 36 candles on my cake, I'm going to punch somebody in the face. Not like it.
Oh my God, that's too funny.
Because I'm getting this body to believe it's 36. Okay?
It is what you say it is. Oh my gosh. I don't feel that. I don't feel my age. And my daughter will tell you in an instant, Mom, you're the youngest, blah, 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 you are.
No. That's another way I think that people do premature aging, because you're really supposed to live to 120, 140 in this kind of 3D body. I mean, this is a 3D form, right?
Yes.
But in optimal, this 3D form could probably go 120, 140 disease-free. Optimally.
Yeah.
As a doctor.
Yeah. Why not?
Why not? So, or maybe 100 or whatever your deal is that you made up with the creator, because that's what's going to happen.
Well, the problem with wear and tear on the body is basically inflammation. And I speak about this in the book. Inflammation is insidious. It's like the smoldering fire that you really don't see, that's in the background, that people are carrying. A lot of people have inflammatory processes in their bodies and don't even realize they're happening. And so they look at, quelling the fire with diet and supplements and drinking water and exercise. And in my practice, I talk about the 6 essentials. And the six essentials.
What are the 6 essentials?
6 essentials are what you eat, what you drink, how you breathe, and what you breathe, how you exercise, how you rest, and what you think.
What you think?
And so these five, these five, most people, work on because they're tangible things. They can, they know what they're eating. They can see and taste and they drink and smell. They can, smell the air and feel what it feels like in their body. Resting, they can feel when they're tired or not. Exercising, same thing. It's a physical thing. But you can do all these 5 correctly. But if you don't correct your thinking, it negates the first 5.
So this one will knock out all of these 5.
Yes. And so inflammation is not a product of eating inflammatory foods. Eat this to, stop inflammation in your body. You can stop eating for several days. You can fast for several days. You can stop drinking water for several days. You can hold your breath. Some people can hold their breath for up to several minutes. But how long can you go without a thought? Really, stop thinking right now.
Right.
It's impossible because now your mind's like, stop thinking. What do you want me to stop thinking about? It's a constant commentary going on in your head. And so learning how to navigate that, learning how to manage that is a key to quelling inflammation because your thoughts are things. And in the beginning, there was the word, and the word is thought. And so we're creating with our thoughts. And so we're creating inflammation, and we can create better health with our thoughts, with our emotions, and how good we feel, how we feel. I teach people how to notice how their thoughts make them feel. A lot of people are clueless that their thoughts make them feel certain ways. And that most of us, if not all of us, are addicts to certain chemicals in our bodies that are a result of a thought. So every time we're angry, we're eliciting a chemical response that is triggering something in our brain. It's like a chemical hit in our brain. It's just like heroin. So people are
addicted to adrenaline.
Yeah, addicted to adrenaline, addicted to substance P, addicted to all these different chemicals that are triggers in the brain. But it's our thoughts and emotions that bring these chemicals into play. And so my course, Whole Heart Living, goes into all of that. That coaching goes into all of that, how to, work with all of that so that you have heart health from a physical, emotional, and spiritual aspect.
That. This is holistic. This is multidimensional because we are multidimensional beings. And you see these people pumping iron in the gym and angry as hell. And you wonder why they have a heart attack and drop dead and their body is in perfect, beautiful. Put that in a casket. It's beautiful. It's muscular. No fat. But the person was angry. Right? Or full of guilt or full of shame.
Yeah.
Right. So, folks already started signing up. Tell us about your book. We're going to wrap up.
Okay.
Again, show us the book again.
Here's my book. Here's my baby. Core Perfectum. What you don't know about your heart may be killing your life. Not be killing you, but killing your life. And I want you to understand that significance of the wording in there. I'm very particular about words. My mother was an English professor. So I'm very particular about language. And I use those words for a reason. It's just more than your being that's being affected. It's your whole life.
Your whole life.
Your whole life. And so to get on the Zoom class in reference to the 7-week course is drjewa.com/Zoom. And if you are interested in whole heart living, You can contact me at info@drjewa.com.
That's your email address, info@drjewa.com.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Dr. Jewa, you know what I noticed? This didn't used to be many years ago. So for some of us that have been doing this work for a long time, before the internet, right? We were doing this work before Facebook, before Instagram, any of these things. What I noticed is that it would seem that the internet has made it people try to get instant spirituality.
Oh,
That
yeah.
now a year program seems like a long time. I was in a 4-year program.
Right.
Spirituality is a lifelong program. So
I've been studying A Course in Miracles for 9 years.
9 years.
And reading it every day, and under the tutelage of a master teacher. It's a lifelong work. So I mean, when I say a year, I'm being kind. It's just like basically, here's your intro. It takes as long as it takes, but we're going to say a year.
We're starting a year
because I don't want to scare you off.
Exactly, because I've got to make it very plain to people, and I say this all the time on the YouTube channel. There is no such thing as instant spirituality. There is no such thing as instant healing.
No.
You accumulated this over eons. We all did. There is no 7 weeks. This 7 weeks is going to profoundly shift your life. I want you to be thinking, how can I go even deeper with Dr. Jewa? How can I go even deeper with my spiritual practices? Let me take this as my intro and let me listen to Spirit. Spirit brought you to this video for a reason. How can I deepen and heighten? I call it like the tree. In Kabbalah, they call it the roots are the exact as the branches, right? As above, so below. So this acorn is meant to turn into a 40-foot oak tree. It's meant to turn into a mighty oak, right? That's already encoded in your seed. And to do that, first the acorn goes down in the dirt, the blackness, and has the travail of, breaking that outer shell, and mostly lives its first part of its life in darkness like we do in the womb. And then it starts to, but at the same time that it's going up, it's also going down to the same, and most people don't want to do that kind of work.
Mm-hmm.
They want the big tree, we want our big, mighty oak tree life. We don't want to dig down and do the deep root work.
Right.
Yeah. That takes years.
It can take years. And, and the other thing is that there's this fallacy that being spiritual means, or being on the spiritual path means that you are not fallible, and that anything that looks messy cannot possibly be spiritual. And that's not true.
Not at all. I think I'm more messy and spiritual than I think I look more crazy spiritual than when I was not on the path.
Right, because we're trying to hold it together. There's this veneer that we're trying to emulate again around safety and security. I don't want to look too crazy. I don't want to be too out there. I want to be accepted. I want to, this whole thing. I want to conform. I want, all this thing. And so when we start breaking out of that, and then healing our wounds and getting those smudges off our lenses, a lot of times I equate it to when you clean out your closet. And everybody's probably had this experience. You open the door of your closet, you're like, oh my God, this is such a mess. Okay, let me clean it out. Yeah, and so you take all the stuff out, closet is nice and clean, you turn around and now your room is a mess. Because of all the stuff that you clean out of your closet. And you're like,
your closet is your consciousness. Your consciousness is now clean, but you're looking at your life, it looks crazy.
It looks crazy. And so now you get to organizing both. Now you get to see what you're going to keep and what you're going to throw away. How you're going to organize it, and it's just, I was taught, you make a big mess. Make a big mess, get it all out there, bring it all to the light. Don't hide it. bring it all to the light, and then that way you can heal it. Because if you deny the fact that this is a problem, then you're gonna keep on holding on to it. If you deny the fact that you really don't hate, you really hate your brother, that one person is going to keep you out of the kingdom, because how can you love God when you don't love the Son of God? You can't. And so you can't hold on to things and feel justified in holding on to them because of how you are, of how you think you are. And this whole idea of how you think you are is not really who you are. It's a role that you are playing in this lifetime. And so you really have to let this stuff go. I was having, and I'm going to say something, you probably, I know your audience is probably ready for this, but I know sometimes when I say something.
Bizarre things I say.
Oh my God. I was having a discussion with my daughter. My daughter is a very passionate woman. Oh my God. I love her to pieces. She's taught me so much. She's full of fire and life. And oh my God, it's just like amazing.
I love big energy people. I'm a big energy person.
And she's like, Black Lives Matter and this whole thing. And I was like, okay. And I said, okay, Simone. I said, and she has this thing against Trump and this, that, and the other. And she's just like, And I'm like, girl, if you just understood that Trump is a masterpiece in service. He is showing us all of the underbelly of all our thoughts.
He's a gift. He's
a gift. He's showing all the underbelly of all our thoughts through eons. He's just bringing it all to the light. And so that we can see how crazy those thoughts are, and then we can choose differently. And then the whole thing about Black Lives Matter, I said, well, this life you're a Black female, but other lives you weren't that. So
in other lives, I was probably killing Black people.
You probably, yeah. And so the reason why, you're probably passionate about what you are is because you're holding guilt for doing something to Black folks. It's just like, it's just, so, and then when we talk about our ancestors, giving, homage to the ancestors, well, which ancestors are you talking about? Because in this lifetime, you're Black or African or Haitian or whatever, but in another lifetime, you could have been Chinese or Caucasian. So whose ancestors are you giving homage to? And so you can't segment yourselves into thinking that you are your role. You are not your role. You are playing a role in this lifetime that has a whole script. You chose the circumstances that you came in, so that you chose your curriculum. You chose what you were going to be about in this lifetime. What you were going to learn. And usually in the first 7 years, you're exposed to the things that are showing you the script that you're going to be playing for the rest of your life, and what you're going to heal. What did your parents show you? What did your siblings show you? Those kind of things. And so it's just a rich, how I've been taught is such a rich game. And every time I bump up against myself in egoic thought, in worried about health or concern or money or anything else, I have to remember, this shit ain't real.
Nothing is real.
It feels real, but it ain't real.
It's a great matrix.
The
architects of this matrix it's a great matrix. It seems so convincing.
And the only reason why I know that is that I've experienced what it feels like not to identify with it, and have seen or felt the results of that.
Yes, that's the liberation. That's the liberation. Because Dr. Joe has a word for that. He has a phraseology for that. And his nomenclature for it is, when you want to go into the quantum, he calls it going into the quantum, right? Into the quantum field of all potential, infinite possibilities, God, whatever your wording for it is. You must become no one, no thing. No, you can't enter the formless, the void, as a somebody.
Right.
You have to become a no one.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't they talk about that in Game of Thrones, becoming a faceless man? Who are you?
Right.
I am so and so. Yeah, I'm Arya Stark. Who
Mm-hmm.
are you? Because the identity with Black woman from Harlem, this is my mama, this is my daddy, is keeping me so cemented in the matrix, a third dimensional reality or construct, that the five-dimensional self is not being fully expressed. The true self.
Right.
Can we talk about this again next week? Can we have part 2 G1 next
Yes,
week?
we can. I love you, Valerie. You know, I love talking about this. We need to do this on the regular. We need to do this on the regular. It's really cool to be able to speak about this. I mean, and I live a life where I'm able to talk about this on the regular because I'm around people who are doing this on the regular, but I know that there are other people out there who don't have that. You know, they don't have that community yet. I'm going to say yet. And so being able to present these ideas and this way of being to people, I think is extremely helpful. It's a gift. I know that when I started studying the Course in Miracles, and Yolande corrected me, it was 10 plus years. It's since 2008.
Love it. 2008.
Yeah, I started reading Course in Miracles. I cried for probably the first 6 months reading that book because it was like, it was like, I was a hard driving type A, successful, academically literate, you know, kind of person, a go-getter, charger kind of thing. And then I hit that wall. Yes.
And very deep reliance on intellect. Like that was very, I prized intellect. And I was rewarded for grades and reading ability and writing ability and speaking. That's very prized.
Yeah.
Third dimension.
Yeah, third dimension is very prized, but in fifth dimension, it's hurtful.
It's a problem in fifth dimension, baby. You start going up the stairs and trying to take your intellect with you. You're like you're trying to enter heaven with your intellect. Drop your mind, boo, before you come up here. That's what all the beings up there are telling me. Drop your mind, and you'll just float right up. No, I'm smart. They wanted to skip me when I was in third grade because I had an 8th grade reading level or something craziness that they had, right?
Yeah.
It's a tool. It's not the master.
Tool. Yeah. I mean, basically, I skipped 12th grade. I went from 11th grade to freshman in college. And, you know, and it was wonderful up until a point. And then I hit that point where it didn't make any sense. And yeah. So we've been talking about third dimension and fifth dimension, but I don't know if anyone's ever noticed that we skipped fourth. And so what would be the fourth dimension? And so I want you to answer that for me.
For next week?
For next week.
Dimension.
What is the fourth dimension? And so you can either email me or Instagram me or info@drjewa.com or Instagram @drjewa. And we can talk about what exactly is the fourth dimension, because we've been talking about third and fifth. So what's the fourth?
What is the fourth? That's the question for next week. So that'll be the title of next week's broadcast at the same time. Same time for you, Dr. Jewa?
I believe so. Let me see. Let me check real quick.
Let's check. And we can do same bat time, same bat channel. And you can share this. If you're on YouTube and you're not subscribed to the channel, what's that?
It works.
It works?
It works. 2:00 Eastern.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. So if you are on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to ValerieLove.com, ValerieLoveTV.com. So if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe. tons of content on this. I always say I'm here for your freedom, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially. I started studying A Course in Miracles when Dr. Yella Van Sant, well, it was part of our required studies. And just before I entered the divisions in 2006, when it was required for us to do A Course in Miracles every day, and I did not understand a thing this book was saying. And the first time I read A Course in Miracles, I just tossed it. I was like, I don't know what anything's for. Okay, whatever. Whatever, right? That's where I was with it. So it takes, it's shift is required. Let's just say that a shift is required.
180 degree. I say it's 180-degree shift of what you thought was real.
It's the exact opposite.
Exact opposite.
What we're taught.
Yes. Exact opposite.
So the class starts this Thursday.
This Thursday.
The show notes in the description here on YouTube. I thank you, family. There's the book. Pick it up now. We know lots of you have already bought the book. We love you. We love you. We love you. I've been listening to KAISI and others for several years, and because of them, I have changed my script. I've disappointed me, but I love my life. Yes. And you know, disappointing others, I don't know. It's whatever. You know, the important thing is that each person makes the decision, each soul, you just make the decision to align with your soul. And then you are really lifting all souls, because when I'm healed, I'm never healed alone, as we know from A Course in Miracles, right? When I'm healed, I'm never healed alone. So we're very thankful for that. Jewa, I love you.
I love you.
As a master teacher, I thank you. I appreciate you. And I'm just so happy we get to do this life together. I really am, Jewa. We have got a lot more coming.
Oh, I tell you, and thank you, Valerie, because, you know, we've known each other 15 years now, and we've been through a lot together.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, and it's been an honor, and I appreciate you, and I thank you. I thank everybody who made comments. I am able to see the comments, and it's always a pleasure, always fun. That's the one word I can equate with Valerie. Fun. We always laugh.
That's my fave, because it helps the medicine go down. It's like the laughter. Because some of these things are very challenging, right? The laughter helps the medicine go down. And so I'm just so thankful. All right, family. It's a wrap for today. I'll see you next week. God
All right.
have a beautiful day. And if you know on YouTube, you'll see me tomorrow for Witchy Wednesday. I love you. Mwah. Peace, guys. Oh my goodness.